Today, I'm going to talk to you about where some freight brokers and freight agents struggle, and that is they're not getting enough sales. And today I'm going to explain to you why. And there are two really important things that you need to understand about selling, right? And I don't care what you're selling, but in this case, we're talking about freight brokerage or freight agency services, okay? So the important thing you have to understand, the reason why you're not getting enough sales is because of your sales pipeline. You have a weak sales pipeline. Now, what do I mean by a pipeline? So the pipeline is kind of like that funnel you think about where you put a whole bunch of input at the top and it's real wide. And then at the bottom, it's much more narrow and customers fall out. So let's say you put 1,000 prospects in and a much smaller number of customers come out. Let's say it's 10 or 20 or 50 customers come out of that funnel, right? Or pipeline, as you can call it, right? A lot of people call it a sales pipeline. So the biggest reason why you're not getting enough sales is because of you have a weak sales pipeline. Now, your pipeline is comprised of two key elements, right? Two key elements determine your pipeline. One is the quality of your pipeline, and the other is the quantity in your pipeline. So I want you to think about those two elements. These are the important things you need to understand today. Quantity and quality. First, we're going to start with quality, right? So both of these are very important. It's like a marriage, and it's a balance, and it's a yin and yang, okay? You can't have just quantity without quality, and you can't just have quality without quantity. So it's really a balancing act that you need to learn how to juggle in order to have an effective pipeline, which is what will ultimately determine your success in building a highly successful freight broker or freight agency business. Okay, so let's talk about quality to start. What I mean by quality, this is more qualitative. It means, for example, your sales skills. How good are your sales skills? Do you have a strong or a good sales hook as a part of your cold outreach, as a part of your sales call, right? So that's qualitative, right? Do you ask good questions? Do you understand how to overcome common objections, right? Do you have a positive mental attitude, right? So those are qualitative things that you need to measure and understand. And there's a whole bunch of other components to that. But it's really on a qualitative perspective, it revolves very heavily around skills. Do you have the skills and the understanding to create a quality engagement, which will bring in quality prospects? Okay. So that's a qualitative measure. Again, like I said, do you have a good sales hook? Do you ask really good and compelling questions? Are you a good listener? Right? So those are things that you have to understand from a skills perspective, right? So that's qualitative. Now, quantitative is the other side of the coin. So quantity, what is the quantity of prospects? Because again, if you just put 3 prospects into that funnel, you can't expect a customer to come out of it, right? But if you put 3,000 prospects into that funnel, you're going to start seeing customers come out. Now, if you put 3,000 prospects without any quality, it's going to be a much smaller number than 3,000 prospects with high quality, right? So let's talk about quantity, right? So a couple of things you might want to consider from a quality perspective. Are you prospecting daily? Are you prospecting every day? Are you doing outreach to at least 50, 100, 150 people per day? Now, some people are going to do 50, some people are going to do 100, and some people are going to do 150. Ultimately, what you have to understand, what you lack in quality, what you lack in experience, you usually have to make up for in numbers. So this is where quantity can help balance your quality, right? So as you're developing your skills, as your skills get better, you won't have to make as many calls to get customers. But when your skills are not quite as good, you'll probably have to make a few more calls. So are you doing prospecting calls daily? Okay, that's number 1, right? Number 2, are you following up with your prospects, the people that you do have conversations with daily? Are you following up with at least 10 or 20 or 30 prospects every single day and trying to move them down that funnel so that they can eventually become a customer? Because the fact is, not very few customers are going to become a customer on just one phone call. You might have to have 3 or 5 or 8 or 10 different conversations via email, via phone, or a combination of the two, even face-to-face sometimes, before that person becomes a customer, where they start giving you orders and you start servicing them and they start generating you profit. Okay. So are you following up? That's another variable that you want to think about from a quantity perspective, right? Are you doing freight quotes daily? That's another one you want to consider. Are you providing quotes to prospects every day? Are you doing at least 1 to 3 to 5 to 10 freight quotes per day for your prospects and for your existing customers? If you're not doing freight quotes, here's what I can tell you. It's going to be impossible for you to get shippers, because until you start discussing rates and service levels and capacity and those sorts of things, nothing good can happen, right? They can't hire you unless they know what you can provide, what value you can provide. And that usually is one of the parts of a freight quote. Okay, that's an important part of doing a freight quote for a shipper. So, and then the last thing is I want you to think about is this. If you are a startup, right? If you're a startup, 90% of your time needs to be spent prospecting and following up, right? Prospecting and following up. So you're going to be prospecting new prospects and following up with existing prospects. That's where most of your time should be spent. 90+% of your time should be spent there. 10% of your time should be spent doing research and freight quotes, right? In and around quotes that you're going to be providing for all your prospects. Okay. So what I want you to understand, again, from a quantitative perspective, from a quantity perspective, I don't mean to confuse you. Are you prospecting daily? Are you following up daily? Are you providing freight quotes daily? And are you doing it consistently? Okay. So those are the two big things you need to understand as a part of your sales pipeline. If you have a weak sales pipeline, you're typically not going to be generating enough sales. So you need to control those two big variables. One is quality. We talked about the quality components, and one is quantity. Now, if you learn to balance those things and build a strong sales pipeline, like I've talked about, right? Here's what's going to happen. The good news is, let's say, for example, your goal is to generate $10,000 a month in profit, right? Profit that would go in your pocket, not revenue, but profit, actual profit, whether that be as typically, and these numbers I'm going to give you are as a freight broker. So if you're a freight agent, you need to adjust it a little bit based on your commission. Okay. So as a freight broker, if you're looking to make $10,000 a month in profit, let's think about it. If you took an average profit of $150 a load, which is very reasonable. Okay. It probably will be higher on an average basis, but let's say it's 150. So assume it's $150 to $200, right? Roughly. So if you're doing $150 profit per load and you want to make $10,000 a month in commission, that's only 67 loads. So if you do 67 loads a month, you're going to be at $150 profit. You're going to be making $10,000 a month in profit. Now, 67 loads divided by about 21 work days in a month, you can see here that's just over 3 loads per day. That's not a lot. That's not a lot of loads, right? That's not even a full-time job, okay? It's really a part-time job. Now, if you're doing 67 loads a month, and let's say your average shipper, and this is going to be, I'm going to be very conservative on these numbers. Let's say your average shipper is only giving you 7 loads per month, right? 7 loads per month on average. That's going to be low, but let's say that's the case. If your average shipper is giving you 7 loads per month divided by 67 loads per month, you only need 10 shippers. You don't even need 10 shippers, really, because the math, but 10 shippers. Let's assume you need 10 shippers doing 7 loads a month at $150 profit per load. You're making over $10,000 a month. So the reason why I explain that math to you is because of what I want you to understand is, in order to start making good money as a freight broker, freight agent, you don't need hundreds of customers. 10 customers doing 7 loads a month at $150 average, you're making $10,000 in profit per month. So that's what I wanted to explain to you. The key is if you're not getting the sales that you want to get, you're not getting enough sales, look at your sales pipeline. And then take a look at that pipeline and see not only the quantity of prospects that are in your pipeline and that you're adding to that pipeline daily, weekly, monthly, but look at the quality of that pipeline. And the quality is something you need to look at internally, right? Look at, are you, do you have the skills that you need in order to be successful? Do you have a good sales hook when you're doing cold outreach by a phone or email? Are you doing a multi-channel outreach strategy? Do you understand how to overcome objections? Do you, do you understand the components of what makes up a sale? Do you know how to build relationships? Are you asking, again, good questions? Do you have a positive mental attitude, or are you approaching this like every sales call is you cutting off your pinky, right? So those are some of the things that I wanted to share with you today. Very important that you understand that if you're not getting enough sales, it's typically your sales pipeline. Your pipeline is comprised and made up of the quality and the quantity of the prospects in your pipeline. And the good news is, if you want to generate $10,000 a month, it's easy to back out the math. I shared with you how you really only need about 10 customers in order to start making that. And 10 customers is just not a lot. Now, here's the thing. Some people are going to get those 10 customers in the first few months. I've seen people that do it even faster and start making $10,000 a month that fast. Some people are going to take 6 months. Some people are going to take a year. And some people, guess what, are never going to do it. Some people are going to fail. But in most cases, it comes back down to either the quantity or the quality of their efforts. If they're not focusing on their skills, then they're probably going to fail. If they're not focusing on the quantity of prospects in their pipeline, they're probably going to fail. And in most cases, people will quit because they just can't break through. For whatever reason, they're afraid to fail and they just can't deal with it. So what I've done, guys, and here's the reason, part of the reason for the training today, I've put together a program called my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. This is where I take that piece of my brain and I teach you exactly how to develop the skills that you need, but more importantly, the system that you need in order to have a strong sales pipeline, in order to get predictable customers so that you can grow a multi-6 or 7-figure freight brokerage. Now, that program it's a combination of an online training program and a coaching program where I actually coach you for 5 weeks as a part of the program. And that program is going to be launching. I'm hoping to launch it here in November. So if you want to be a part of that program and you want to be notified when that program releases, here's what I need you to do. I need you to go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. That is called my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Now that program, I've run that program twice now. It's sold out 2 times, almost overnight, both times it's sold out. So the only way you'll have a chance to be a part of that program is if you actually get on the wait list. Now, it's not a free program. I don't know exactly what I'm going to sell it for, but I can tell you whatever I offer it for, it's going to be worth 10 times whatever you pay for it. Okay. Whatever you invest. It's not a free program. So if you're a tire kicker or a whiner looking for a freebie, this is not for you. Don't bother getting on the wait list. But if you're serious about growing a highly profitable freight broker or freight agency business, what I want you to do is go to freightbrokerbootcamp/waitlist. You'll be able to enter and get on that wait list. I'll notify. You'll be the first to get notified when this program releases. And then at that point, you need to get enrolled immediately. And then that's when we're going to dive into the training. And I'm going to take that piece of my brain. I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to coach you and mentor you on exactly how I was able to do over $200 million as a freight broker and everything I've learned about selling freight brokerage or freight agency services. So if you guys enjoyed that, great, get on the wait list. For those of you that are just looking to get started as a freight broker or freight agent, and you're not quite ready for that, just check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. I've trained over 10,000 students. That's the startup program where I teach new people to get up and running and start growing a profitable business. And you just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We have a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee. Again, that's the startup program, freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Check that out. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you soon.